Hey guys, what is up? It's me, Pagey here once again with another video on just a couple of different DC TV things. So in this video, we're going to go over some new Stargirl stuff that has teased the now not happening Season 4, while also giving us some insight into the end of Season 3, which will also serve as the end of the show. And then we'll also go over some Superman and Lois related discussions that I've seen people talking about and I thought I'd chime into. But yeah, we will kick it off with the Stargirl stuff, but of course throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on all this and any thoughts going forward into all of it as well. Very curious to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, want to show your support and all that stuff, why not drop a like on the video to do all that. So as we all know, a couple of weeks ago, roughly, maybe, yeah, I'd say about 2 weeks ago, maybe spot on, it was made official that Stargirl will be ending after Season 3 after the CW decided to cancel it. Of course, this due to the new regime over there where not much is really safe going forward. Now, it seems like The Flash, might have called it at the perfect time if you look back at it. But we know the show had Stargirl's a show, had a 5 or 6 season plan roughly, that was outlined by the showrunner and creator, that being Geoff Johns. So the story wasn't close to being finished. Really, it was at about the halfway point. And there would have been plans to tease the next season's storyline as well as any other, personal character stories going into the next season. But that won't be a thing, unfortunately. But recently, Brec Bassinger, who plays Stargirl, went on the Wayne Ayers podcast, which I think will release tomorrow from when this video comes out. I think that's, yeah, so it'll be Wednesday, November 16th, US time. I think that's when it comes out. But before the full release of that, we did get some of the Stargirl info from that podcast come out, so why don't we go over it? So Stargirl herself, as we mentioned, Brec Bassinger, did say that with so many changes going on at the CW and Warner Brothers Discovery as well, Stargirl showrunner Geoff Johns went the extra mile and shot 2 different endings for the finale, which was filmed in the middle of March, because he didn't want to leave, the fans with all these question marks in regards to, if the show does end, what the hell just ended? We had that with some other shows, and this was the safe choice to go about things. We know shows like Legends and Batwoman, those are shows I was sort of hinting at before, they didn't go that route. But to be fair to those creators that, behind Legends and Batwoman, I think both of those shows wrapped in like either December of the previous year or sometime in January. So Stargirl had another couple of months leading up to them wrapping up and them deciding what to do. So to be fair with Legends and Batwoman people and like the people behind the show, they were, more ahead in regards to where they wrapped up. So they were behind the 8 ball in regards to the info that was coming out, like Stargirl would have been, attuned to and would have known come the middle of March. So it's a safe choice to film those 2 endings because at that time they just still weren't sure that they could have been safe. They could have easily got picked up for Season 4 or it could have been the end. So better playing it safe. Now, Brec does go on to say that the unused cliffhangery ending could wind up on a DVD set or, the Blu-ray, whenever that comes out. And while she hopes that is the case, she does warn that it will make people sad because the 4th season idea was insane. It would have been epic, and she actually believes that's why it took so long for Stargirl to officially get the cancellation news, because Geoff came in with such a wonderful idea, but it just wasn't meant to be. So it makes you wonder, what could this, the teaser have been? We know what the teaser for at the end of Season 2 was leading into Season 3, and at the end of the day, it was also a bit of like a misdirect at the same time. But I know like many fans of Stargirl wanted like Johnny Sorrow to show up or something like that, but it could have been a tease that plays off this season's storyline that leads into Season 4's story. And while they might not release the deleted cliffhanger ending, we could get it described in like an interview at some point in the future. Now, to be fair, I think we got that for Legends. I think the Legends showrunner might have done an interview and broken down what the plans were for Season 8. I think that would have been Legends. But the Batwoman showrunner, I don't think, said anything about what the planned Season 4 Batwoman story is. And I don't know if that's because of like contract issues and embargo. I'm not too sure if they could actually talk about it. But in like 2 or 3 years' time, maybe Brec Bassinger or Geoff Johns decides to go, what, screw it, I'll just tell you what we're planning. But that just depends if they don't release the scene. You know what I mean? So I hope we get it on the Blu-ray, I hope we get it because I'd like to see what it potentially could have been. And even if they filmed like a certain character showing up, that would have been cool, like they did with Mr. Bones at the end of last season. But that's just a wait and find out. We won't get that Blu-ray for a while, I don't think. Maybe like April or May next year, maybe. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, Brec had previously shared that she found out in May that Stargirl might not be picked up for a 4th season, which was nearly 2 months after filming on Season 3 had wrapped up, where she was actually flying to an event for Stargirl when she got that news. But with that being said, at the time, it wasn't for sure. So that, they weren't saying, hey, it's cancelled, just like, hey, it might be cancelled. We're not too sure. Now, I think that event that she was flying to would have actually been the CW upfronts, which would have been, would have made that news and soon to follow event even more awkward to be at. Like, hey, let's hype up the network after I just got word our show is on the chopping block. Like, that wouldn't have been easy. That would have been really awkward to be there. And I don't know if you can go back and watch her time at the CW upfronts in May, if that was the case, and just see if she is acting a bit awkward because she got that news. I'm not too sure. You'd have to do some detective sleuthing work, but that would have been weird news to get if that was the event she was flying to. But yeah, Breg did say that the next few months after that, especially after that initial news in May, about Stargirl potentially being cancelled, but just became this emotional roller coaster of, yeah, I think it's going to get picked up, or oh no, we're going to pitch it to a different streaming service, and oh, now things aren't looking good. And I don't know, it would have been interesting to see if the Warner Brothers Discovery thing wasn't happening, whether HBO Max could have become a legitimate lifesaver. But we know they're canceling shows on HBO Max. It's not just the CW that's doing it as well. Like, they're ending shows on HBO Max, they're canceling movies, they're trying to cut costs as well. So if that wasn't happening, Stargirl could Stargirl just seems like it was caught in the middle of just drama in various networks and different organizations, and just makes you think if it was like a year before or a year later, it would have been safe. Timing is everything. But yeah, overall, like, obviously I'm disappointed Stargirl's ending. One of my favorite shows to watch, whether it's in the comic book media or just in general. But let's just hope they finish off the season strong. I think this season is shaping up to be the best season the show's ever done. So I'm hoping it finishes and lands or nails the landing. That's the best way to put it. Nails the landing at the end. And it looks like it's going to do that because, yeah, it's just shaping up everything well. So only got 3 episodes to go. I think the next episode will come out tomorrow when this video comes out. So yeah, looking forward to it. Before the back portion of this video, Superman and Lois. We know it's currently filming its 3rd season, and we do expect it to premiere in like January or February, maybe a bit later of next year, not too sure. That's just a wait and find out. But one aspect of Superman and Lois Season 3 that we know of and that know is heading our way is that of Intergang, a threatening organized crime unit that potentially is dabbling in some advanced alien technology. And one character that's a part of that, which we also know is heading our way, is that of Bruno Mannheim. Now, Intergang in the comics has more characters associated to it than just Bruno Mannheim, so there is a curiosity factor as to whether those other characters will show up this season as well. Now, one of these is Darkseid. It'd be weird if I didn't mention him. And I, for one, just can't see the show using Darkseid. They could use Apocalypse maybe as like a source of the technology they're using. But Darkseid, I just can't see them using him, both on like a getting the rights to use him side of thing, but also on the budget side of things as well. I mean, they could, but I just don't think it will happen. But I'm in favor of being proved wrong with this stuff. But some other characters that are part of Intergang at portions of the comics history that could show up include Joe Danton, who is like a short-lived part of Intergang and took over Intergang from Morgan Edge, funnily enough. But Joe was killed in, I think, the same issue he first showed up in, or the issue after, that he took over Intergang, with him being succeeded as the leader of Intergang by Max Danner. Now, Max was the last leader of Intergang before Crisis on Infinite Earths happened within the DC Universe, and he had some interesting parts involving targeting not just Superman, but Clark Kent as well, which would be an interesting thing to see happen in Season 3 of Superman and Lois potentially. It doesn't mean Max has to show up and be the one to do that, but just if that happened in general, I think that'd be an interesting aspect, especially if it was like attached to like Lois Lane, tracking, Bruno Mannheim or Intergang specifically, and then doing some connective tissue where they find out, oh, she's married to Clark Kent, and she's like, well, hold on, Clark Kent looks a lot like Superman, and they figure that stuff out. That'd be pretty cool. But one character out of all of these that I could see show up in some capacity, maybe in a flashback, maybe in present day, or maybe just mentioned through some dialogue, is that of Boss Moxie or Moxie Mannheim, who is Bruno Mannheim's father. Now, as you would guess, he was the founder of Intergang all the way back in the day, and though he has a bit of a complicated and weird storyline after the simple stuff of just setting up Intergang, the important things to remember is that Bruno took over Intergang when he was arrested, and that's something I could see the show using in its storyline. Maybe they could make it that, like, I don't know, Lois Lane or just the Daily Planet had something to do with that, or maybe Superman. That would spice up the rivalry, you'd have to think, between the good and bad guys, make it a bit personal, and also keeping it personal, that always, helps a rivalry on a show blossom. But yeah, I think Superman and Lois set up a pretty interesting storyline, especially once again if it does end up being its final season, like Stargirl's third season is being as well. Um, it's a wait and find out, like because it sounds like it's going to be somewhat grounded, but also elevated because it depends on how they handle Intergang. Because Intergang showed up in season one, and since that point has Intergang advanced. There's still that loose storyline from X Kryptonite last season. They still haven't found where the main hub of that X Kryptonite stuff is. That place that they broke into last season, and like Jordan Kent used his powers and they, sort of took it down. That was only a small distribution center. That wasn't the main person. So who's behind that? They still haven't answered that. And that's not a mistake. I think that's intentional because it wouldn't surprise me too much if we find out this season that Intergang is using X Kryptonite to power their weapons, with maybe some even other alien stuff brought in as well. Just remember that going into season 3. If they don't bring that up, then I think they forgot about that storyline, and it is a massive error by them. But I think it was intentional because it just seemed like a big thing to set up and then not address going forward after that. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comments section down below your various thoughts on the Stargirl stuff, on the Superman and Lois stuff as well. Always curious to read it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.